for the Vice Chancellor's procession. Vice Chancellor's procession is led by the Deputy Registrar Senate Matters, Mrs. Comfort Ediato. The procession comprises, in the order in which they are appearing, directors of academic programs, directors of institutes, deans of faculties, the dean of students, the dean of postgraduate school, the provost of the university's College of Medical Sciences, the inaugural lecturer, and principal officers of the university, the Vice Chancellor's procession. Still standing, we take the national anthem, followed by the Benin anthem. Very dynamic Professor Lilian Mwetini Salami, ably represented today by the acting Vice Chancellor, Professor Ray Osodwan, other principal officers of our great university, the provost, deans, directors, the inaugural lecturer and family, professors emerita, other esteemed professors and erudite scholars here present, top government functionaries, the Royal Highnesses, greatest university staff and students, invited gentlemen, we welcome you heartily to this very special day in our history as a university as we present the 300th in the inaugural lecture series of the university. It is to be delivered by a professor of comparative politics and development studies, the very vivacious, the very gregarious Professor AIGUOSATILE, OTOIGHILE. The topic of his lecture is military constructivism and democratic deficits in Nigeria, fanciful models and ugly facts. May I at this point respectfully invite the Registrar of the University, Mr. Developmental, to introduce the Vice Chancellor and the Vice Chancellor's procession. Mr. Reg.
Vice Chancellor, representatives, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, kindly allow me in my usual way to plead that I abide by the protocol as already established by the University PRO. Brand new Deputy Registrar for Protocol of this university, Dr. Mrs. Benedicta. This occasion is being chaired both physically and virtually by the Vice Chancellor of this university, and it is therefore my singular honor and privilege to present to us. Very eminent persons are not being introduced, we only present them. So it is therefore my singular honor and privilege to present to us the #1 citizen of this campus, the #1 Vice Chancellor of the Board of Nigeria University System, a distinguished academic, and the 10th substantive Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Hassan Waihena is the Director Center for Educational Technology. It's led to be around the campus. It's coordinating all the ICT facility of all the things we are enjoying in this place today. Professor Mrs. Ujiro Igudu is the Director Center for Sustainable Development Goal, SDG. And Professor Tito Airebu is the Director of JUPE Program of the University of Benin. You may not see because of the wall, but if you watch the screen, I'm sure you will see. A time was there I was saying, blessed are those who have not seen yet believe. That time we didn't have this screen. Now that we have the screen, once the names are mentioned, we always pick the personality there to be sure that the person is well seated. Professor Eddie Peragui is the Director of the University Advancement Office. Professor as the orator of the University of yesteryears and is still public. The Director of Student Guidance and Counseling of this university, brand name Professor Mrs. O.N. Agie, is also a person responsible. And of course, Dr. E.O. Obajo from the Epewa campus, the Director of IPES Office of the University. Please let me know that. And of course, leading the Vice Chancellor Central today is the Deputy Registrar in charge of Senate matters of this university, Mrs. C.I. Egiato. Today is a very unique day when we are marking the 300th edition in our inaugural lecture series. We thought we had thrown away the military, but today we'll be hearing something about the military. For those of you who are very young, who didn't know about the military. I think today is the day for us to learn. And for those of us who knew about it, a time for reflection. But it is not my own duty to do. It is my privilege and honor to call on the acting Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic, who is representing the Vice Chancellor, to present the Vice Chancellor's address.
Greatest Union. Greatest Union. We can identify this place some more. Greatest Union. Very well. Good evening, everyone. God bless us all. Let me sing one or two blessings. If I see others, I would also recognize them. First, Professor Stanley Orobato. You recognize her. Let me also recognize our own Professor Patrick Inaugural. And by exception, all those persons who have retired from this institution and have served meritoriously, you are recognized. We will keep on applauding and celebrating you. You're welcome. Madam Vice Chancellor, the Chief Priest in this academic temple, would have loved to be here herself. But for the challenges of air travel, she sends her very warm regards. I proceed now to read her address verbatim. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 300th in the inaugural lecture series of the University of Benin. Today's lecture is the 71st to be delivered in my tenure as the Vice Chancellor of this university. The second in the Department of Political Science and Public Administration. Activities marking the University of Benin Annual Research Day were concluded yesterday. I thank all staff and students who showcased their research and innovative progress. Evidently, the University of Benin stands out as one of the best in the world in teaching and research, and we are increasing our momentum. I don't have to some applause. The academic calendar is running very smoothly, and thank all staff and students for the cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our lecturer for today. He is Professor AIGUOSATILE, OTOIGHILE. AIGUOSATILE, OTOIGHILE. The title of his lecture is Military Constructivism and Democratic Deficits in Nigeria. Fanciful models and artifacts. Professor AIGUOSATILE OTOIGHILE was born on 25th June 1970 in Benin City to the family of late Mr. Broderick OTOIGHILE and late Deaconess Mrs. Felicia OTOIGHILE. He attended the youth of primary school, Benin City, where he obtained his first schooling certificate in 1981. He had his secondary school education in Edo College, Benin City, where he obtained the West African School Certificate in 1986. He thereafter gained admission into the University of Benin to study history, but transferred to the Developmental of Political Science and Public Administration at 200 level. He won the Professor Grace Alile Williams, who was then Vice Chancellor of the University, sectional scholarship as the best student in his 300 level class. He obtained the Bachelor of Science degree in Political Science and Public Administration in 1992 as the best graduating student. He undertook the 1-year mandatory national youth service as the corps liaison officer. That's here in Ibokoda, Ilaje Ese, Odo local government area between 1992 and 1993. Professor OTOIGHILE acquired a master's degree in 1995 and PhD degree in 2005, both in comparative politics and development from the University of Benin. He joined the services of the University of Benin as a graduate assistant in 1994 and rose through the ranks to the position of professor in 2015. Professor OTOIGHILE has held several administrative positions within and outside the University of Benin. Examples are: he's been admission officer, Department of Political Science and Public Administration between 1997 and 2000.
Then I was looking for first in inaugural lecture. It was difficult to get, but I told myself I must get the first in this inaugural lecture. My Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, I make bold to say that this is the first inaugural lecture from the Department of Political Science to be presented by a fully homegrown scholar. From the university, I'm the first to present inaugural lecture from that department. Now, I want to tell my students that I'm locally fabricated but internationally relevant. I'm grateful for the University of Benin, and I'm very successful. I'm grateful for this last university when I was in 200. I got scholarship. University of Benin trained me through my master's and to my PhD. Expected. I'm trying to pay back to the University of Benin over the years. As you can see, I've provided several masters and PhDs. In the area of comparative politics, I'm one of the best in this part of the world. And I'm training others in the Department of Political Science. I can tell you, my Vice Chancellor, very soon we will have a harvest of professors of comparative politics. Come see and train. And I am also, after the death of Professor OTOIGHILE, the only political statistician in the department, and also in the process of training to other political statisticians. So I'm bringing back my Vice Chancellor. Let me happily inform you that a few hours ago, another student of mine just got her PhD in this university. I can tell you for free, the person is Mrs. Ahmed Ubara, wife of Professor Ahmed Ubara. Well, let me go straight. When I got the letter for the inaugural lecture, something also came to my mind. Each time I come for the inaugural lecture, people will say, look, I ought to have presented this lecture 5 years ago because I became professor again. I presented the inaugural lecture late. I tell people, if you read my last post, I get to take a different position. I became professor almost 10 years ago. I'm saying I'm not presenting my inaugural lecture late. For me, God's time is the best. And you can be physical explanation of the supernatural. I will give you 365 minutes and what time is the best. And this is the time God has made. Number one, look at the number lecture. It is unique, the 300 in the University of Benin. It's a long period. A unique, in fact, the PRO said a unique inaugural lecture. This is a unique inaugural lecture from a unique department, from a unique faculty. Place that one you do. I want the Valentine one. Please give my Valentine gift to you. You know the final reason for the inaugural lecture, please first. Why I believe that is the time the Lord has made. Presenting inaugural lecture under the watch of the most beautiful Vice Chancellor in the world is an opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, now my lecture. Now my lecture. I want us to go through the lecture. I promise this that I'm not to take too much of the time, but I want us to understand this. Military constructivism and democratic deficit in Nigeria, fanciful models and ugly facts. How did we get here? What do we write? You know, I'm taking time to explain this topic. I don't want a situation where you you say wonderful. What the numbers that say, you say marvelous. There is nothing like marvelous in my inaugural lecture. I did not use the word marvelous from beginning to the end. So let us understand this. Military constructivism and democratic deficit in Nigeria. I have worked on several papers on Nigerian government and politics over the years. Several papers have been published both locally and internationally. And I've concentrated on democracy, democratization, elections, political parties, and related issues. And as a comparative, I decided over time to classify Nigerian politics into two categories. By my own subjective analysis for my comparison, I classify it into what I call first generation politicians, and that was First Republic Award, Second Republic. Then from 1999 to date, I classify it as second generation politicians, and I decided to compare. And over here, let me say three things about this. If you look at the first generation, I would say, look at the political parties. I tell people, when I was growing up, I'm a product of free education. If you said UPN, a little child will know the meaning of UPN, free education. It was clear. Political parties of the First Republic had clear-cut ideology. But I'm sure today, if you mention any of the political parties, nobody, even the professors, will not tell the direction of the political parties. In fact, our current political parties are ideologically backwards. They are ideologically hollow. If anything else, they are pedestal, pediatric, and footballish. Now, look at the issue of corruption. Let's look at first generation and this generation. You don't need to be a professor of political science to know that the level of corruption that we have now is difficult to explain. In some of my write-up, I said these second generation politicians are corrupt because of greed. Ladies and gentlemen, Madam Vice Chancellor, after some time I changed it. I said this is no more greed. This is corruption caused by wickedness. When I define corruption caused by wickedness as amassing wealth over and above what you and your generation yet upon cannot finish it. Madam Vice Chancellor, you are just the word wicked. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm still writing, I'll keep writing. I'm afraid whether wickedness alone can solve the problem now of these corrupt politicians. I'm thinking that many corrupt politicians should have their heads clinically examined by medically qualified psychiatrists. Now, voting in the first generation, what we had was ballot box snatching, people fighting. Today, there's what I call commodification of votes. You just go and buy votes. Vote is now a commodity. As far as I'm concerned, I try to explain why the difference between the first generation and second generation. The gap was between 1983 and 1999. How we are following? Between 1983 and 1999. And that was the period of military regime. And the two dominant regimes there were Babangida and Abacha. And I decided to interrogate their effects on democratic deficits. And I came to the conclusion that Babangida and Abacha, they occupied the place and further de-democratized and further created problems for the Nigerian democracy. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, the Maradonic despotism and maximum authoritarianism of Abacha and Babangida created enough foundation for democratic delusions in present-day Nigeria. Let's go back to my lecture. I dedicate this lecture to God Almighty, to my lecturers, and of course my dear wife and children. Let us get straight to the message. After the message, I will summarize and then I'll give my recommendations. Please listen attentively. The message of this inaugural lecture is short, simple, and straightforward. It is that Nigerian democracy is comatose, epileptic, pediatric, pedestrian, and somewhat discouraging. In fact, the problems of Nigerian democracy are legion, huge, conflicting, competing, confusing, complex, diabolical, and spherical. To be a medical doctor and Nigerian democracy a patient the patient should be referred to the intensive care unit. Political parties are nothing but associations of like-minded kleptocrats interested in accessing state power for the singular purpose of enriching themselves. Election creates wealth for those who emerge victorious, and Nigerian politics has become the most lucrative industry. The high level of unemployment and poverty has created a large army of angry and ready youth, from which the politicians are assured of endless supplies. The electorate consider their voter cards as automatic teller machines to be slotted into the ballot boxes and money collected. This is what we now regard as the commodification of votes. The police and other security agencies have found themselves ready funds in the hands of incumbent governments to the extent that they have upgraded their integrity and respect in the eyes of the public. The judiciary has not also heard matters. The press, you listening to me, ITV, traditional institutions and electoral commissions are also part of our democratic problems. Military incursions into democratic governance in Nigeria brought some adjustments, readjustments, innovations, reforms, and counter-reforms. The military that sat democratically elected governments turned again to be the champions of democracy by instituting various programs intended to bring back what they destroyed. Unfortunately, most of these programs by the military that were intended to bring about democratic governance rather than enhance democracy laid solid foundations for the evaporation of democratic desires and hopes in post-militarism. They may have the fancy, that's what I mean. They may have the fancy, for example, Babangida's cultural adjustment program and the political transition program. Yet, they laid foundations for the suffocation of democracy in post-militarism. Here lies the ugly fact. The position of this inaugural lecture is that these problems were created by the faulty foundation laid by the military constructivism in Nigeria. Democratic transition programs under military rule in Nigeria have been endangered by monumental socio-economic contradictions. These contradictions have largely been responsible for democratic deficits in post-militarism. The marathonic, despotic, and authoritarian posture of especially the Babangida and Abacha's administration created a solid foundation for democratic elections in Nigeria's post-military era. These two regimes demonstrated insincerity to democratize the country's governmental structures and processes. They equally lacked the capacity to lay solid foundation for the survival of democracy. Consequently, it is imperative that all stakeholders in the democratic progress in Nigeria and work to vote credible elections in Nigeria. The inaugural lecture also arrives at an unequivocal summation. All hands must be involved in the rescue mission for Nigerian democracy, namely the electorate, civil societies, the police, judiciary, political parties, press, electoral commission. The introduction. That should not take us too much time. What we did was to look at Nigeria from the very origin. Before the coming of the colonial masters, Nigeria had autonomous sub-nationalities. These autonomous sub-nationalities were at different levels of development. They interacted with one another on the basis of equality, sometimes through trade and sometimes through war when the need arose. They were at different levels of development, but colonialism came and imposed a foreign structure on us, imposed indirect on us, and tried to alter the pre-existing political socio-economic arrangements. This led to serious political, social, and economic dislocations in these entities. What now happened? Having imposed indirectly, they needed to take control of the economy. They also nationalized the economy. Meanwhile, they operated a policy of decentralization. And so nationalization was diametrically opposed to the policy of decentralization. And this led to crisis between the various ethnic groups for state power in the immediate post-colonial era. The next session takes a look at the theoretical framework. What are theories? Theories are simply people's explanations, scholars' explanations of a particular thing. Nigerian democracy has been facing problems over the years, and scholars in their various ways have attempted to to explain the crisis with Nigerian democracy. There are a whole lot of explanations. But in this inaugural lecture, we pick four. One, the centrality of the state. Two, democracy as an important idea. Three, attitudinal explanation. And four, political parties and democracy. Let's look at the centrality of the state. Suberu digits the problem facing democracy in Nigeria on the centrality of the post-colonial states. According to him, in Nigeria, we have an oversold state, wrong democratic attitudes and practices. According to Eke, because of its extraordinary importance, the struggle to control the power becomes very intense. One might say obese. Since the stakes are so high, the competitors do everything to win. That is a major problem in the Nigerian state. And it's still there today. People are ready to die. We shall come to that when we come to our recommendations. Because like I said before, the way Nigeria is configured now, it is clear that some places cannot contest. That is the truth. Under the current political parties, you cannot contest. And I'm very certain of that. It is clear. By the time you say 100 million for you to take form of expression to be a presidential candidate, any Nigerian professional goes for that will go to EFCC. It is already clear that no Nigerian professor is allowed to contest. If I know university staff, where will a professor get 100 million to go and pick from? I'm sure if you hear that your colleague has picked from for 100 million, you will relocate from the University of Benin. So the stakes are so high. The state becomes the major vehicle. So democracy is a problem. Democracy is in crisis. Certainly, the history of the First and Second Republic is riddled with cases of unconstitutional acts by the political elites. There were occasions, and there are still occasions now, where legislators will now fight on the floor of the House, behaving like political talks. In fact, this position about state power has been well demonstrated by OTOIGHILE, Abututu, and many other scholars. Some have also said that, look, the problem of democracy is that democracy is an important idea. That we are yet to adjust ourselves to the realities of democracy. Some others are of the view that the problem facing democracy is because it's an important idea. According to one scholar, the way Western democratic forms came to Africa has been an important determinant in African democratic performance. Usually, colonial power, granting independence, perpetuated our system of government, and the resident new states took things from there. The democratic forms in most African states were received, not developed by Africans. The implication for this system and its operators are enormous. Certainly, whether we like it or not, take it or leave it, there is crisis of adjustment even to tomorrow between the traditional system and the Western system. I was telling my wife a few days ago, I said, look, I'm a believer, let's face it. If the governor today says you must come out of your house and the other belief places a cost and says stay inside your house, which one are we going to obey? Ladies and gentlemen, I do not expect you to answer, but I'm sure many persons will answer your bar. If you believe persons will sit down at home, if you hear that your bar has made the cost, you will sit down in your house unless you want to defeat yourself. Now again, some other scholars have said the problem of democracy is that the problem of attitude. That we are yet to imbibe democratic attitude. And that is the truth. Democracy has to do with attitude. Are we ready for it? At times you come out, the last election I came out to go and vote. When I looked at the streets, they were all playing football. And I started trying to come, won't you vote? They said, what am I going to vote? I'm not ready to vote. So to some scholars, the problem with Nigerian democracy is neither institutional or constitutional but attitudinal. Oyewole, for example, believes that Nigeria does not have the needed attitudinal characteristics that will engender sustainable democracy. Well, some other scholars have argued that the major problem with democracy in Nigeria has to do with our political parties. Dudley, in his own opinion, regarded the political parties as the major cause of the instability in the political system of Nigeria. He argues that the regional nature of the major political parties in Nigeria since independence created instability. However, much unlike other scholars, Dudley did not entirely regard the problem of instability as diffusion. Yes, we are all aware of how political parties were in the First and Second Republic. In fact, in that my analysis, I also did some criticism in in some of my papers of the first Republic political parties. They also had their problems. Now, they were ethnic political parties and created crisis for Nigeria and Nigeria democracy. In fact, conflicts within political parties have been a major problem of Nigerian democracy. However, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Vice Chancellor, the position of this inaugural lecture is that in as much as we believe that these explanations are variants of attempts to explain the crisis in Nigerian democracy, there is need to interrogate the constructivist proclivities of Nigerian army and its attendant democratic reversals in post-militarism. And that is what this inaugural lecture is all about. We have said that let's look at military regime and what they have also done to Nigerian democracy. We singled out Babangida's administration and that of Abacha between 1983 and 1999. The reason being that these two administrations occupied more space within that period than any other administration. So let's look at the Babangida's constructivism and democratic deficits in Nigeria. The Agricultural Transition Program started in 1989 when he instituted a 17-man political bureau under the chairmanship of S.J. Koki to organize debates towards finding a political order for Nigeria that would be stable, strong, and dynamic. See OTOIGHILE 1997. Among other things, the political bureau recommended a phased and supervised process of transition to civil program. Specifically, the bureau recommended a socialist ideology for the country, a two-party structure, the establishment of a directorate of social mobilization and political education to champion the introduction of a new social order, population census, a code of conduct bureau, and a constitutional review committee. The recommendation of the socialist alternative would have gone a long way in ameliorating poverty and hardship and class distinction in the Nigerian society. Unfortunately, the AIGUOS administration rejected this noble recommendation. In addition, despite the insistence of the bureau, the government refused to endorse the recommendation that the assets of public officers and politicians should, upon declaration and verification, be published for the general public for assessment, claims, and counterclaims. After mutilating the bureau's report, the AIGUOS administration went ahead with a transition program. Now, they went ahead with a transition program. Unfortunately, the AIGUOS administration was so inconsistent in that transition program. First, none of the 13 political parties that applied for registration was registered. The AIGUOS administration claimed that these political parties refused to transcend ethnic and personal lines. The contention was that the political parties were mere effects of political parties of the first and second republic. The implication of this is that AIGUOS was also disgracing himself. If you are saying that we are championing the evolution of a new social political order by instituting programs like MAMSA to ensure that there is a new social orientation, and you said that was the goal, that is the fanciful model. You have brought MAMSA to us and you said you were creating a new social order and you were implementing MAMSA. At the other time, you now told us that look, Nigerians have not learned from the past and you cancel the 13 political parties. Then the ugly fact is that your model has not led us anywhere. That is the message in this inaugural lecture. So please, I want us to be taking note of this message. After ushering the whole process, you will discover that the AIGUOS transition program was also involved in restless alteration of the timetable. Well, the administration continued with the transition program. By 1987, elections were held into local government on low party basis. In 1990, elections were held into the state legislature and state executives. Between August 1992 and September 1992, the government parties held their primaries in an atmosphere that was regarded as do or die. What, according to Babangida himself, what we have witnessed in the last couple of weeks in the presidential primaries of the two parties constituted a total negation of all the principles. Actors in those contests have conducted themselves in such flagrant disregard for decorum and decency Now it appears that they have learned nothing from the past. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a man admitting that he has failed by himself, admitting to the nation that he has failed. That becomes the ugly fact. The above again was another indication that the IBB's transition program, on the one hand, was part of creating a new social order, and on the other hand, calls to question the sincerity of the administration to the terminal date of the transition program. Consequent upon the report of violence and rigging in the presidential primaries, the administration cancelled the primaries and dissolved the executives and created caretaker committees for the two political parties to hold their conventions. In fact, in 1993, the two political parties, SDP and NRC, held their conventions, one in Jos, one in Port Harcourt, while Chief MK Abiola was one that of the SDP, Alhaji Bashir Tofa won that of the NRC. And the stage was set for election. What happened? An association with the name Association for Better Nigeria, whether it's for Better Nigeria, but the events that later unfolded is showed that it's an association for Better Nigeria. The Association for Better Nigeria went to court and successfully secured an injunction that INEC should not conduct the election. Yet, INEC went ahead with the conduct of that election. And the election held, and it was in an atmosphere that was regarded as free and fair. Madam Vice Chancellor, he did. I want to make good to say that election remains the freest and fairest in the history of Nigeria. This is well documented by both local, national, and international observers. The facts speak for themselves. Again, INEC wanted to complete its assignment and went ahead and started releasing the results of that election. INEC has successfully released the results of 14 states where the association again went ahead. I'm sure they were being pushed by the military junta and now secured a court injunction saying that it should stop the release of the results. Now, INEC refused to obey an earlier court injunction, but in this case, they obeyed the court injunction. Why did they disobey the first and I have to obey this? Your guess is as good as mine. As Nigeria started to seek explanation to the turn of events, on June 26, 1993, the then Ibrahim Babangida's administration annulled the June 12th election. Let's look at the structural adjustment program and democratic ideals and democracy in Nigeria. Because the structural adjustment program was by far the most thought about program of the IBB's administration. And my goal is ladies and gentlemen, I drink water now. Few hours later, I take something else. I'm sure the dean of students understands what I'm talking about. Am I making sense in my inaugural lecture? You know what? When I teach my students, there are many here. I tell them when I teach you, your life will not remain the same. When you are going away today, well, it's not that Abacha is dead and Babangida is dead. But the only two will be to insult them. The greatest program of Babangida was the structural adjustment program. We are all aware of that. My inaugural lecture demonstrates very lucidly that the structural adjustment program destroyed democracy in Nigeria. So the structural adjustment program might look fanciful. That is my topic. It looks fanciful. Devaluation, do this. It was sponsored by IMF. Now the first question that I want to ask serious-minded scholars: do you really think that any other country apart from your country is interested in your progress? That's the first question. Let me tell you, let me give you Madam Vice Chancellor. Let me tell you, there is one prayer. That prayer is only your mother that prays it and your father that prays it for you. No matter how good your friend is, your friend will not pray for you. Your father and mother will say, in Benin, to my friend. That means you will be better than me. Can any friend pray that for you? No matter how close you are, no friend will come and meet you and say, even your brother, same father, same mother, will not go visiting and he gives you kola nut and you pray, my brother, you will be better than me. Is that possible? Professor Fanciful knows what I'm talking about. God bless you. And so by the time, the first thing I'm saying, by the time you begin to think that the Western world will bring policies and programs that will make you grow and be at power with them and succeed and compete with them, that is the beginning of your failure. Are we following? Let's look at the structural adjustment program and democratic ideas. First, how did the structural adjustment program create problems for democracy in Nigeria? First, the adoption of SAP inflicted serious economic hardship on the mass majority of the people. As poverty increased in Nigeria under SAP, there were serious attempts to resist the program. This includes both organized and unorganized protests. See OTOIGHILE 2004. For example, students of institutions of higher learning took to the streets in May 1989 in protest against these policies. Madam Vice Chancellor, I was a student in this university then, 1989. Let me report to myself, I was part of the protest. And I know some of my friends here that were part of the protest. Mike Ikini, the INEC chairman, my close friend, is here, INEC commissioner. And I know, unless he wants to lie now, we were part of the protest. Mike, how are you? Part of the protest together. You know, so it's here. When the VC says I should greet you, Mike Ikini, please rise for the recognition. Thank you very much for coming. Now, it's one man I believe in. When I see it right up, I believe there is hope for this country. If you follow Mike Ikini, what's up, you know there is hope for this country. SAP inflicted, hardship. These include both organized and unorganized protests. Workers also took their turns in forms of strikes and the likes. These genuine calls by both individuals and groups were ignored by the Bangladesh administration as it brutally and stubbornly resisted all attempts to call SAP to question. Thus, the implementation of SAP required an authoritarian transition. In fact, for example, in June 1986, leaders of the Nigerian Labour Congress were detained for their concorded role in the anti-SAP student demonstration. In 1988, the academic staff union of universities, ASU, was banned for their concern over the poor state of Nigerian universities. There are other examples. These examples will delay us, but it goes to show that at the end of the day, it must be stated that SAP requires authoritarianism to succeed. Now look at this, ladies and gentlemen. It is like giving something with one right hand and taking it with the left hand. You are implementing SAP that requires authoritarianism and you are saying you are democratizing. In fact, that is the greatest lie from the pit of hell. In fact, SAP became a potent weapon for throwing the doors of the third world countries open to foreign body while at the same time changing their quality. Let's look at Abacha's constructivism and democratic deficits in Nigeria. When Babangida hurriedly packaged an interim national government under the leadership of his Yoruba ally, Chief Ernest Shonekan, and from the very beginning, it was clear that the Shonekan government was destined not to last. Nigerians were not interested in anything but in the resolution of the June 12 crisis. And so the Shonekan government lacked credibility both locally and internationally. So a little thing just pushed it out. And that is why the Shonekan government, based on the step down its history, the shortest administration in Nigeria having lasted only 83 days. General Abacha came to power in 1993, precisely 17th of November, through a palace coup that exited Shonekan's government. In fact, Abacha claimed that his government was a child of necessity. He was not sent by God to deliver Nigerians from their problems. And he said he was invited to take over power. Who invited him? The Vice Chancellor. He did not tell us tomorrow. Now, nonetheless, Abacha also embarked on a very elaborate transition program. That is what is annoying me. In fact, if you put the transition programs of Abacha and Babangida together is enough to take over the budget of this country for the next 10 years. The amount of money that they wasted in those two transition programs. Abacha quickly constituted a constitutional conference under the chairmanship of Justice Carrie White. In a show of determination and bravery, the conference gave the Abacha's administration January 1996 as its switch date. This was never to be, as the conference later gave Abacha's administration a blank check after changing the January 1996 date. Note that this was the result of the manipulation by Abacha through the conference chairman, Carrie White, who was indicted by order. However, the truth of the issue is that the chairman alone could not have succeeded in doing the above without the active support of many other conference chairman members. Little wonder, Akinyemi regarded the constitutional conference as not true representative of Nigeria, but the conference is an assembly of true collaborators. Why did they give Abacha a blank check? Said there was a need to draft a new constitution, there was a need to create state, there was a need to review revenue allocation. However, the chairman of the conference also submitted his report on June 29, 1995. Ladies and gentlemen, Abacha never completed that conference report. However, in 1995, Abacha promised to hand over power to a civilian administration in October 1998. He then gave go ahead for the registration of political associations. Well, many political associations applied for registration. He only approved 5, and the names of the 5 political associations are listed there. This was a sharp departure from the two-party system that Babangida also did. He went ahead, but what worried Nigerians is that the 5 political parties separately started adjusting and readjusting their constitutions, claiming that they were adopting Abacha as the sole presidential candidate. Madam Vice Chancellor, I regard those 5 political parties as the 5 leprous figures of Abacha. They were the 5 leprous figures of Abacha. And so, they adopted Abacha as their sole presidential candidate. In fact, in 1998, there was a 120 million march in Abuja to say that the youth NSP asked for Abacha. Subsequently, other voices that wanted to say, look, youth do not NSP ask for Abacha. They were crushed in Lagos. Some of them were even killed. With their bold situation, it was crystal clear that Abacha's self-suspension bid was going to materialize. This time. In fact, by May, everything was already in place for Abacha to transform himself into a civilian president. However, this was not to be, as the cold hand of death snatched life from him on June 8, 1998. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not discuss Abubakar's constructivism because it was a short exit. I want to take more time to talk about recommendations. But before I go on to recommendations, let me just overhaul what I call military constructivism and democratic deficits, fanciful models and ugly facts. Then I will just discuss that briefly, then we shall go to recommendations. Because I have observed as a professor of political science over the years that it is easy to catalog problems. If you ask any person here to discuss the problems in Nigeria, we shall all start discussing. But let us come and tell ourselves the solution. There the problem lies. In this lecture, we shall all go thinking about the solution, discussing the solution, talking about the solution, and maybe the needed change in Nigeria will start from here. We shall see in this session that democratic transition programs under military rule in Nigeria have been endangered by monumental socio-economic contradictions. These contradictions have been majorly responsible for the collapse of their attempts at democratization. Those contradictions reflect on one part insincerity of the military to democratize the country's governmental structure and its inability to also successfully midwife a transition program. We can see that of Babangida, we have said all he did with Abacha. Then come to human rights. the Ministry of Institutions, both Abacha and Babangida, also did not attempt to improve human rights. The implications of the long romance with military regimes for human rights in the country cannot be overemphasized. If you read the work, you will see a lot of discussions on democratic failures of the military, many journalists that were imprisoned. Well, the next section talks about my contribution, my time is gone, my contributions to knowledge. If you buy the pamphlet, you read it with Togile 1997, Togile 2000, 2011, 2008, and a host of others. Let me, Madam Vice Chancellor, spend a few minutes left talking about recommendations. One, the electorate. I would not want to read so that I just summarize. The electorate. Who are the electorates? Those that go to vote. The major thing I will tell the electorate: do not sell your vote. Do not what? Sell your vote. It is not what? Selling your vote. That is, I'm going to tell you two things. One, do not sell your vote. Now, I'm also a professor of political statistics. Let me tell you what my own research. The highest vote they have bought is for 10,000 naira. That's the highest profit. They have not bought one vote for 20,000 naira. The highest they have bought, during my research, they say, give you 10,000 naira to vote for me. There is no reason why you should collect 10,000. Do the mathematics. That should be your assignment for this inaugural lecture. If you collect 10,000 naira for 4 years, that means you have sold 1 year for 2,005. Is that not correct? If you want it, you are selling a whole year for 2,005. Well, my students, you cannot divide 365 days with 2,005. Let me see how much you are selling a day. If they are not intelligent, if they are not stupid, they should buy one vote for nothing less than minimum wage. Minimum wage is how much? 30,000 a month. They want to buy one vote for 4 years. 30,000 times 12 months a year, 350,000 times 4 years. You will be bringing 10,000 to buy them. So there's no reason to sell your food. Point number 2, there's no reason to be involved in talking. Have you not always asked yourself, the children of this building send you to go and fight? Where are their children? They are abroad, enjoying themselves. They want to go and die for them. If anything else, this younger lecture should tell you, save your head. Let me say it in plain language. Save your head. Don't die for any politician. No politician is worth dying for. The police also has part of our problems. In fact, no person would, no opposition party will see the police in a polling booth and be comfortable. They close their eyes and allow the manipulations to happen. So the police must also be ready to redeem their image. The judiciary, in fact, the popular saying now is go to God. Am I correct? If you look at it, what do you do? Go to God. The judiciary is part of it. You remember the popular judgment midnight cancelling the June 12 presidential elections. In fact, President Babangida cited it as one of his reasons for cancelling the elections. In fact, nowadays, the best way, most election issues are now pre-election matters. Come with all the evidences in the world, it's a pre-election matter. The judiciary should also help us. Political parties. I will only discuss political parties just because as a professor of comparative politics, it is good to just discuss it. If not, for me, Nigeria we do not have political parties now. That's my take, my blunt take. We do not have political parties. If I ask you what is the ideology, you don't know. Political parties are being sponsored by a few individuals. Now, if you civilize democracies, you all finance the party. Even as a student, you pay money to the party to finance the party. No, I asked one of my relations, right? Said he was going to a party meeting. I said, okay, yes, I must go. I said, but we have something to discuss. She said, I must go. She said, today they will share 2,000. That means you are a member of the party to go and collect money. And when they impose somebody, you say they impose you. Keep quiet. You have no right to talk. He that seeks equity must come with clearance. If you have collected money as a member of a political party, you are collecting money and you still want to decide who becomes the presidential candidate, you are deceiving yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, I also discussed issues of other issues there in my recommendations. Time will not allow me to go through that. But I want to quickly make my acknowledgement. First, let me acknowledge Madam Vice Chancellor for making the process faster now and my inaugural lecture coming up now. I want to particularly appreciate members of my immediate academic family. Department of Political Science. I was lucky to have lecturers that believed in me. I was lucky to have lecturers that believed in me. In fact, when I graduated, they insisted that I must be retained in the University of Benin as a career assistant. I said thank you. Well, their names are mentioned there. But I was specially mentioned late Professor Uyek Ogbe, my academic father, who supervised my first degree, masters, and PhD. He usually told me that I am the best student he has ever taught. May his soul rest in peace. I also want to appreciate very specially Professor Lambert Uyek. I don't know if he's in the house. Professor Uyek is not in the house. Well, I appreciate him very seriously. Oh, the wife is in the house. Oh, Prof. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I must tell you two things about Professor Lambert Uyek. No matter the time, please. I want two things about him. One, he saved me when I had problems with the regularization of my appointment. He went straight to Professor Oshodi, who was then dean of students, and told him, save me out. I said, thank you, Daddy. Apart from that, Professor Edwin is a father to my family. In fact, I knew that he must become a man of God before he became a man of God. I saw the anointing in him. Let me tell you how, as a young couple, each time I had issues with my wife, Professor Edwin will come to the house. He will settle two of us. He will stop me, and my wife will be happy. And after then, he was not ready. After that, I will tell him, AIGUOSATILE, Kialaja. AIGUOSATILE, let's go out. You listen, when we go out, then he used to drink. He was not a man of God. He will buy me a cold bottle of Star. They will not tell me, AIGUOSATILE, very good, to get with her. But you will not tell me this. You did not tell me this in the presence of my wife. You were escorting me in her presence. Now you are telling me very good to tell me. Say that is the way. My son, there is politics in marriage. I want the house to be settled. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. The last thing I will say, I want to appreciate my very beautiful wife and children. Mrs. Patience. Stand up for the foundation. Thank you very much. I appreciate members of the OTOIGHILE family, landlords and enemies of public OTOIGHILE family, Vice Chancellor, and the OTOIGHILE from OTOIGHILE Street. Now, members of APEX Club and the Club, thank you very much. Well, finally, let me say this. Madam Vice Chancellor, I hope with these few points of mine, I'll be able to convince you that military constructivism has destroyed democracy in Nigeria.
Thank you, please sit. Let's give Professor OTOIGHILE another round of applause. Vice Chancellor, Professor Reozola, to summarize the lecture.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're indeed excited, isn't it? There's something we call crescendo applause, so you watch my hand. As my hand rises, that's how the applause rises. Are you there? Okay, let's go. Thank you very much. Professor OTOIGHILE actually convinced us, didn't confuse us about the topic. Our lecturer has described Nigerian democracy using very, very discouraging adjectives. He said ours is comatose, epileptic, pedestal, pediatric. He told us that the problems of our democracy are legion, huge, conflicting, competing, confusing, diabolical, and he said luciferic. The devil has a hand in this whole business. According to him, our democracy needs urgent rescue action. He considers political parties as associations of like-minded kleptocrats. In terms of propensity for election-related fraud, he thinks that the electorates, security agencies, traditional institutions, the election umpire, and the judiciary are all involved. With this, I remember the 71st inaugural lecture delivered in this academic temple by Professor Patrick Benovia, titled "The Criminal in All of Us, Whose Oaths Have We Not Taken?" So, are you not also involved in the electoral fraud? You must ask yourself that question. Ladies and gentlemen, vitriolic as these comments may seem, they are not surprising to some of us. Why so? Because I agree with Niccolo Machiavelli, the 14th century Italian philosopher, when he stated that there is no morality in politics. I should quickly make a disclaimer at this point, and that is the contents of his lecture are entirely his opinions. Therefore, neither the Vice Chancellor nor the University of Benin are legally liable to all those things he said. But I can assure the professor, no shaking. Why no shaking? Because professors enjoy academic freedom and immunity. He has reminded us that the military incursion into democratic governance in Nigeria brought a lot of adjustments, readjustments, innovations, reforms, and counter-reforms. The military that sacked democratically elected governments turned again to claim to be the champions of democracy by doing various programs intended to bring back what they destroyed ab initio. This is what he means by military constructivism. Sadly, most of the military created pro-democracy programs later became the evaporating dishes for democratic desires, hopes, and aspirations. He has advised that all stakeholders in the democratic project must synergize towards credible elections that will be a thing of pride to us and boost our collective image amongst the community of nations. Ladies and gentlemen, we can do one more thing, and that is to put a seal to his professorship. This man who has enjoyed schooling free of charge, and I'm just going to instruct the bursar. There shouldn't be anything for us to pay him salary. Ladies and gentlemen, a befitting thunderous applause for Professor.
Thank you very much. That could only have come from the acting Vice Chancellor, who is the substantive Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic. Please put your hands together for Professor Ray Otoighile. And so we now invite the immediate family members of the lecturer to join him as he is decorated. Yes, madam. Kids, come upstage, please. So join the lecturer, Professor AIGUOSATILE Otoighile. And so we welcome very specially Mrs. Patience Otoighile, wife of the lecturer. The children, we welcome you. Osaherume Otoighile, Osasenaga Otoighile, Osarata Tose Otoighile, Osamade Otoighile. Please put your hands together. We welcome very specially also Mr. Osabana Otoighile, brother, Miss Violet Otoighile, sister, Kingsley Otoighile, Esquire, cousin, Dr. Hope Otoighile, cousin. We welcome the former Commissioner Ogoni Esquire. We welcome you, sir. Please put your hands together. We welcome Professor and Deaconess Patrick Edobo Igbinovia. Welcome, sir. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome, Professor Mrs. Kokunre Egafona. Please put your hands together for her. We welcome Professor Stanley Orobato. Welcome, sir. Distinguished scholar. We welcome Professor Sunday Yamu. We welcome Professor Sylvia Oguana. Welcome also the former acting VC of AAU Ekona, Professor Benson Osadolo. Welcome, sir. We welcome Professor Ejion. We welcome Professor Lambert Edigi. We welcome you especially also. We welcome also Professor F.E.U. Osagede, Director, Center for Part-Time Programs. We welcome you, sir. We welcome Professor Kingsley Obeide. Welcome also Professor Enauna Edosa. We welcome Professor Stan Ibiayi JP. We welcome Honorable Ekunwe. We welcome Dr. Justin Agayisi. We welcome Dr. Folari Dimowo. We welcome Dr. Adesoye Mustafa. Please put your hands together as we respectfully welcome our royal fathers here with us, His Royal Highness Victor Ogyugo, the Enoge of Ugoni Yekikoba. Please put your hands together. Welcome His Royal Highness Enadiape Aimwamosa, the Enoge of Ilobi. Welcome, Your Royal Highness. Put your hands together also for His Royal Highness Otame Ayelekmen, the Enoge of Umuhu Nokwa. Please put your hands together. Welcome Pastor Peter Iyase. Welcome. Hallelujah. Welcome members of Broderick's OTOIGHILE Street, where the lecturer, Professor AIGUOSATILE OTOIGHILE, is the audio way. Put your hands together. And the last, and certainly not the least, welcome all staff, all students of the Department of Political Science. Appreciate yourselves. And so, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I understand that there is, well, item 7 will be served here. There is also a reception in town. Yes, for those who have been specially invited. And so, on that note, we conclude today's number 300 in the inaugural lecture series of the great University of Benin. We should now rise for the Uniben anthem and second stanza of the national anthem. Chancellor's procession leaves the arena. Welcome Professor Kes Opaliagbon to the auditorium. Welcome, sir.